All right, let's dive right into today's deep dive. You sent in a ton of news from Further and Better's International News Roundup, so we've got the February 5th edition here ready to
So
go.
that's packed.
Lots to unpack.
It really is.
So let's start with this whole assassination lawsuit.
Oh, yeah.
Nicholas Celozzi is suing over the film. You've got David Mamet, who wrote it and then was replaced by Barry Levinson. And then on top of that, most of the original cast has left. What's going on here?
Well, it's Hollywood, right? So you're going to get some of this drama. But this particular lawsuit, it seems like it's a breach of contract.
Ah.
And that could really have some serious implications for the film's future. You got to think of it like, okay, so we're building a house. We got the foundation laid with one architect. And then suddenly, somebody else comes in and says, you know what? We're going to do it in a totally different style.
Mm.
It really raises a lot of questions about artistic vision, ownership, and frankly, how much power financiers have over the creative process.
So is this film doomed? Like, is this movie just dead in the water?
Well, I mean, it's definitely a huge setback. There's no guarantee that it's going to recover from this.
Right.
I mean, have there been successful films that have come out of this kind of major upheaval?
Yeah. Are there any examples of this working out?
Sure, yeah. I mean, Apocalypse Now is a classic example.
Oh, yeah.
It faced all kinds of problems during production. They had a typhoon that wiped out the set. A lead actor had a heart attack.
Oh, wow.
And yet it went on to be, a cinematic masterpiece.
Right.
So the key is how the new team adapts to this situation, right? Can Barry Levinson salvage Mamet's vision? Or are they going to create something entirely new? Will the remaining cast be enough to actually draw audiences?
That's a really good point.
Those are the questions that are really going to determine this film's fate.
Yeah, those are big unknowns.
Yeah.
Okay, well, let's move from the courtroom to, shall we say, the streaming battlefield.
All right.
Fox is launching a new platform with Fox News and Fox Sports content.
Is this a good strategy, or are they too late to this whole streaming wars game?
It's certainly a bold move. Whether or not it's successful, I think, really depends on if they can differentiate themselves in an already super crowded market.
Yeah.
You've got Netflix, Disney Plus set, all the big players.
Right.
But Fox, I think they're banking on their existing brand recognition.
Right.
And the appeal of that news and sports content to kind of, attract a loyal subscriber base. But they have to consider, how does this affect their existing cable and broadcast businesses, right? Are they going to cannibalize their viewership?
Right.
It's tough, They've got to find that right balance.
Yeah. So is this whole streaming bubble going to burst? I mean, can all these platforms actually survive, or are we heading for some kind of streaming consolidation?
That is the million-dollar question. I mean, right now we're seeing rapid expansion.
Right.
But it's unlikely that all these platforms are going to survive.
Okay. I mean, let's face it, consumers, they've got a limited entertainment budget.
Yeah.
Eventually, people are going to start prioritizing. So the platforms that offer that unique and high-quality content are the ones that are going to thrive.
Yeah.
And some are going to struggle to stay afloat. So yeah, it's going to be really fascinating to see how the streaming landscape evolves over the next few years.
Absolutely. Speaking of things that are evolving and maybe a little scary, there's this whole controversy over the Fantastic Four poster. Some fans thought Marvel used AI to create it.
Yeah.
Should we be worried about AI taking over creative jobs in entertainment?
Well, AI, it's definitely rapidly expanding its role in creative industries.
Right.
And it's sparking a lot of debate, a lot of different opinions about it.
Yeah.
On the one hand, these AI tools, they can really streamline production, automate a lot of those repetitive tasks.
Right.
They can even offer some really cool new creative possibilities.
Like what?
I mean, imagine an AI that can help you generate story ideas or even compose music scores.
Interesting.
But then on the other hand, and this is a big one, there's that concern about job displacement, right? Will AI replace human artists, replace human writers?
Yeah, that's a big fear.
Absolutely. And then you've got these ethical questions too, like who owns the copyright for AI-generated content? It's complex.
Yeah, no easy answers. It feels like we're on the edge of a really major shift here. Let's shift gears a little bit and talk about this show, Bullshit. It's on Viaplay. It's about Denmark's first biker gang war.
Oh, wow.
Sounds intense. Why are people so obsessed with true crime?
It is a fascinating phenomenon. I think it really taps into our curiosity about the darker side of human nature.
Yeah.
There's that kind of thrill of peering into the abyss, trying to figure out what makes people commit these really horrific acts.
Right.
It also lets us confront our own fears and anxieties, but in this safe environment.
Ah, that makes sense.
But I think the really important thing to remember is that behind every one of these true crime stories, there are real victims and real families who've suffered.
Oh, absolutely. It's easy to forget that sometimes when you get caught up in the sensationalism of it. Speaking of things that are important, let's talk career advice. There's this article, How to Move Up in Hollywood. It's all about ambition, work ethic, treating every day like an audition. Does that really work in such a cutthroat industry?
Absolutely. Talent is essential,
Yeah.
but it's rarely enough on its own.
Right.
You need that drive to succeed, that willingness to put in the time, go that extra mile.
Yeah.
But just as important are networking and building relationships
Right.
and always honing your craft. You never know who's watching or when that next opportunity might pop up.
So always be ready.
Exactly.
Now, this next item is interesting. New York State is boosting its film and TV tax incentives. Does that really make a difference when these big studios are deciding where to film?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, those tax incentives can be a major factor in where these film and TV productions go. It's a signal that they're committed to attracting productions, creating jobs, and boosting the economy.
Mm.
And, it's a strategy that a lot of regions are using to try and attract those productions.
So it's a bidding war for creativity.
Yeah, you could say that.
Now, I have to ask about this film, Marcella Mio.
Oh, yeah.
Chiara Mastroianni playing a version of herself and her father's legacy. It's such a fascinating concept. Is it harder for children of famous actors to make their own mark?
I think there's no doubt that it comes with its own unique challenges. You're always being compared to that famous parent.
Right.
There's this expectation to live up to their legacy.
Right.
But it can also be a source of inspiration. I mean, you look at Chiara Mastroianni, she's had a very successful career.
Yeah, she's done some great work.
It proves that talent and hard work can shine through. I think this film is really exploring that dynamic, that struggle of honoring your lineage while you're forging your own path.
Yeah. Yeah, really interesting. This next item is about unscripted producers.
Okay.
They're pushing for greater rights flexibility. What's going on there? What are they asking for?
So most unscripted shows are bound by these strict contracts
Right.
that give the networks exclusive rights, often for years, even if the show's not doing well.
Oh, wow.
Producers are saying that stifles creativity. It prevents them from finding new audiences for those shows.
Ah.
So they want the ability to shop their shows to other platforms.
Right.
Like what happened with Suits. It got canceled and then found new life on Netflix.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's a power shift.
Yeah.
Producers want more control and a bigger share of the profits.
So they're trying to keep up with the changes in the industry.
Yeah.
All right. This next story is a little bit concerning. Dr. Richard Wallace is warning about a crisis in the TV industry because freelancers are leaving.
Oh, wow.
Is this something viewers should be worried about?
Well, I think this is a warning we should take seriously. The TV industry relies heavily on freelance writers, directors, camera operators, editors, you name it.
Right.
But the pandemic and economic pressures have really pushed many freelancers to look for something more stable.
Yeah, I can understand that.
So if there's a shortage of talent, that could impact future productions.
So maybe we need to rethink how we value creative workers.
Yeah, if we want to make sure the TV industry stays strong.
Makes sense. And on that note of things being difficult, we've got this article about surviving a Hollywood firing. What's the best way to bounce back from something like that?
Rejection and setbacks are part of any creative field, especially one like Hollywood.
Yeah.
So the key is to see these experiences as opportunities to learn and grow.
Right.
Keep your cool, maintain those relationships, and look for new opportunities. What might seem like a closed door could lead to something even better.
You've got to stay positive. Now, there were a bunch of executive moves this week. Doug Wald left anonymous content, Channel 4 parted ways with Crispin Leiser, and there were leadership changes at Australia's WTFN. What does this all mean?
It's like a game of chess,
Yeah.
right? Every move can have these ripple effects across the entire board.
Ah, I like that.
So we've got Doug Wald leaving Anonymous Content. That's a big production company. That might mean they're changing their focus. Channel 4 parting ways with their head of drama. Maybe they're shifting their programming.
Right, interesting.
So, yeah, it's important to keep an eye on these moves, see what's happening behind the scenes.
So we can understand where the industry's headed. All right, let's end on some good news. Juliette Binoche, the amazing French actress, is going to be president of the Cannes Film Festival jury.
Oh, wow.
What does that tell us about where the festival is going?
That's a major statement by Cannes.
Yeah.
They're putting a focus on artistic excellence, international perspectives, celebrating those filmmakers that are pushing boundaries. She's going to attract some major filmmakers and generate a lot of buzz around the festival.
Absolutely. I can't wait to see what she brings to the table. All right, welcome back to our entertainment deep dive, ready for round two.
Let's do it.
We've got a lot more ground to cover, so let's jump right in with this promotion. Will Gurman is now Senior VP at Pluto TV. Big move for him.
Yeah, he's got a pretty crucial role now overseeing content strategy and partnerships for Pluto TV.
That sounds like a lot.
Yeah, well, they're free, ad-supported.
Right.
So his job's all about attracting those viewers, getting those deals for good content, and then keeping those advertisers happy.
Right, so it's a delicate balancing act.
It is. You got to find that programming that appeals to a broad audience,
Yeah.
but also still works for advertisers.
So what do you think? Does this mean we're going to see some changes at Pluto TV?
Well, we might see them taking some more risks, maybe venturing into some new types of programming, partnering with different types of content creators.
Trying to stand out.
Exactly. I mean, the streaming world is competitive.
Yeah, for sure. Speaking of competition, Propagate Content is also making some interesting moves. They've promoted Jack Katkovich, Grant McCall, and Noah Nisanow, all to senior positions.
That's right. And these are all in production and development.
So are they getting ready for something big?
It definitely looks like they're preparing for expansion, maybe even more original content.
Really trying to solidify their position in the industry?
Exactly. They might even branch out into new genres, new formats, maybe even expand internationally.
Really reach a wider audience.
That's the goal.
Okay, so we've got Pluto TV maybe changing things up, Propagate Content expanding. Are we seeing a trend here? Are production companies just trying to get bigger to compete with these giants like Netflix?
I think it's definitely a possibility. I mean, as the industry changes, as things shift more and more towards streaming, content creators are realizing they need to scale up if they want to stay in the game.
Survival of the fittest.
Basically.
Okay. Now let's talk about Rebecca Lugo. She was at Wild Brain, and she's just joined Cloud9 Studios as Director of Sales.
That's a big move.
Yeah. What does that tell us about Cloud9's ambitions?
Well, she's got a lot of experience in global distribution.
Right.
So they're probably looking to reach a wider audience, take their content to new territories, new platforms.
Because they're thinking globally.
Absolutely. They might even start doing deals with international broadcasters.
Interesting.
Yeah, maybe even start exploring those co-production opportunities. Who knows? Even venture into the streaming world.
Okay, so big changes happening at all these different companies. Let's talk about Warner Bros. Discovery.
Okay.
They've got new U.S. advertising sales chiefs, Ryan Gould and Robert Voltaggio. What does this mean for their advertising strategy?
Well, it looks like they're focusing more on the digital ad market.
Makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, both of these guys come from strong backgrounds in streaming and digital advertising. So we might start seeing things like more personalized ads on their platforms, maybe a bigger push towards interactive advertising.
Trying to capture that younger demographic.
Hmm.
Now, switching gears to Australia, WTFN has some leadership changes. Wes Crook is CEO now. Karen Goodwin is COO. Big shakeup there.
Yeah, it's a pretty significant transition.
So what kind of impact could this have on the company?
Well, I mean, leadership changes often bring in new ideas, new approaches. They might have a different vision for the company's future. Could change their content, their distribution, even the company culture.
So it's a wait-and-see situation.
Exactly. We'll just have to see how things unfold.
Okay. Now, for a big departure, Richard McCarrow, the co-founder of Love Productions, the guy behind The Great British Bake Off, is leaving after 20 years.
Wow.
That's a huge loss for them.
It definitely is. He's been so key to their success. But, companies often find a way to reinvent themselves, even after they lose important figures. They've got a strong brand, a talented team, so I'm sure they'll find a way to keep going.
Keep creating that great content.
Exactly. It'll be interesting to see what direction they take, though. Can they maintain the magic of Bake Off without him?
That's the big question. Now, while Love Productions is going through a transition, Story Films is actually expanding. They're growing their factual division, bringing in Adnan Mohammed, Liza Williams, and Adam Hopkins.
That's a smart move. I mean, there's a growing appetite for good documentaries and unscripted programming right now.
People want that real-life stuff.
Yeah. So they're positioning themselves well to tap into that market.
Maybe even tackle more complex, more challenging topics.
That's a possibility. We might even see them experimenting with new storytelling approaches.
Interesting. All right, moving on to WME. They've just promoted Mike DeVoe to partner in their talent department.
Good for him.
Yeah, that's a big jump.
It is. And it really shows WME's commitment to nurturing talent.
Recognizing those who are doing great work.
Exactly. So it's a reminder that hard work pays off, even in a tough industry like talent representation.
Absolutely. Now let's talk about something a little different. The Real Screen Summit and NetTPE Global are both happening right now in Miami.
Busy week.
Yeah. What's the big deal about these events? Why are they so important for the industry?
Well, it's all about networking.
Ah, okay.
It's about making those deals, staying ahead of the curve.
Keeping your finger on the pulse.
Exactly. You've got producers, distributors, buyers, all from around the world. It's like a giant melting pot of ideas and opportunities. New projects get pitched, partnerships are formed, trends are identified. It's really where the future of the industry is shaped.
The birthplace of new ideas.
You could say that.
Now, over at the European film market, Playtime is making a splash with two films, A Story of Love and Desire and Cora.
Yeah, they're generating a lot of buzz.
So what can you tell us about these films? What makes them so special?
Well, I think they represent the creativity and diversity of international cinema.
Right.
And the fact they're at the EFM, that's a major market. It means that distributors, buyers, they're all paying attention.
They're on the radar.
Exactly. So it's a really positive sign for independent filmmakers and for audiences who are looking for those fresh perspectives, those unique stories.
So it's not just about the big Hollywood productions anymore.
No, not at all. International cinema is finding its place on the world stage.
That's exciting. And speaking of international events, Content America's just wrapped up.
Yeah.
And they've already announced dates for next year.
That's right. 2026 is already on the calendar.
What does that tell us about the Latin American and U.S. Hispanic markets?
It shows you how important they are.
They're growing.
Exactly. They represent a huge audience, a diverse audience.
And they want good content.
Of course. And Content Americas is betting on those markets continuing to grow and influence the industry.
Okay, so let's move on to some individual achievements. Jane Tranter has been appointed as advisory chair for the Edinburgh TV Festival.
That's a big deal.
It is. What does this mean for the festival?
Well, she's a highly respected figure in the TV world, known for her work on some groundbreaking shows. So she's going to play a really key role in shaping the festival's agenda.
Guiding those discussions about the future of television.
Exactly.
Okay. Now let's talk about Netflix. They've revealed their Korean slate for 2025. And guess what's on it?
I'm guessing Squid Game.
You got it. Season 3.
It's going to be huge.
Yeah, the first 2 seasons were global phenomena.
They really proved the power of Korean storytelling to grab those global audiences.
So it makes sense that Netflix is continuing to invest in Korean content.
Absolutely. They're trying to reach those diverse audiences, cater to those different tastes.
Smart move. Now, there are rumors of a Buffy the Vampire Slayer revival on Hulu.
Oh, wow.
Sarah Michelle Gellar might even come back. What do you think about reboots and revivals? Are they a good strategy?
You know, it can be a bit of a gamble.
How so?
Well, on the one hand, you're tapping into that nostalgia.
Yeah.
You're offering something familiar and comfortable for viewers,
Right.
but you also have to meet those really high expectations.
Right, you can't mess it up.
And you've got to satisfy both the old and the new fans. A Buffy revival with Geller, that would definitely get people talking.
For sure.
But it's all about finding that balance between honoring the original
Yeah.
and making it fresh and relevant for today.
All right. Now, not all news is good news.
Right.
Hulu has decided to cancel How to Die Alone.
Oh, wow. After just one season.
Yeah.
You know, it happens. Not every show can be a hit.
Yeah.
Networks, they're making decisions based on those numbers, the production costs, their overall programming. So sometimes even shows with potential, they just fall victim to the numbers game.
It's a tough business.
It is.
Okay, let's end on a positive note. Australians in film have launched a new emerging producers program. They're partnering with Animal Logic Entertainment and Truant Pictures.
That's fantastic.
It is. What do you think about this program?
I think it's a great way to support the next generation of Australian film producers. It shows you how strong the Australian film industry is becoming.
Right.
They're really committed to developing homegrown talent, and this program, it focuses on mentorship and hands-on experience.
So they're getting the skills and the connections they need.
Exactly. They need that to succeed in a global market.
Absolutely. All right, let's move on to some content developments. Netflix is giving us Squid Game Season 3, but there are also whispers of a Buffy the Vampire Slayer revival.
That's a blast from the past.
It is. What are your thoughts on these reboots and revivals? Are they a good strategy in today's market?
They can be, but it's a tricky balance.
What do you mean?
Well, you're tapping into that nostalgia,
Right.
right? You're giving people something familiar and comforting, but you also have to live up to those sky-high expectations.
Right, you can't disappoint the fans.
Exactly. And you've got to please both the old and the new fans. So a Buffy revival, especially if Sarah Michelle Gellar is involved, that's going to create a ton of buzz.
For sure.
But can they find a way to honor the original while also making it fresh and relevant for today's audience?
Oh.
That's the challenge.
That's the million-dollar question.
Mhm.
All right, some sad news now. Hulu has decided to cancel How to Die Alone. Gone after just one season.
Oh, no, that's too bad.
Yeah, it happens. Not every show can be a hit.
I know. And networks have to make tough decisions. They look at those viewership numbers, production costs, their overall programming strategy. So sometimes, even shows with potential, they just don't make the cut.
It's a tough business.
It is.
Well, let's end on a positive note. Australians in Film has launched a fantastic new program. It's called the Emerging Producers Program, and they're partnering with Animal Logic Entertainment and Truant Pictures.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I think it's a great initiative to support the next generation of Australian film producers. It shows how much the Australian film industry is growing.
Absolutely.
They're really putting a focus on developing that homegrown talent.
And this program is all about mentorship, giving them hands-on experience.
They need that to succeed.
Exactly. It's going to give the skills and connections to compete in the global market.
I'm excited to see what they come up with. Welcome back to our entertainment industry deep dive. For this final stretch, we're switching gears a bit, focusing on the business side of things. Deals, cancellations, all those things that are constantly shaping the industry.
It's like the engine room, right?
Yeah.
All the moving parts that keep things running.
Exactly. So let's start with this acquisition. UK TV has picked up Side Hustlers from Reese Witherspoon's Hello Sunshine.
Oh, I love that show. It's so inspiring.
It is. Why do you think people are so drawn to this kind of content, all about side hustles and entrepreneurship?
Well, I think it really speaks to this desire for, more flexibility, more control over your career. People are looking for creative outlets, ways to make extra money. And Side Hustlers really taps into that. It gives you those practical tips, those real-life stories of people who made it work.
So it's like a blueprint for, taking control of your own destiny.
Exactly.
Okay. Moving on to independent cinema, Sideshow and Janus Films have acquired the North American rights to Peter Hujar's Day. It's directed by Ira Sachs and stars Ben Whishaw and Rebecca Hall.
Oh, wow. That's a great kit for them.
Yeah, it is. What does this tell us about the state of independent film? Is there still an audience for these smaller, more character-driven stories?
Absolutely. Sideshow and Janus Films, they have a fantastic reputation for championing those unique, thought-provoking films. So this acquisition tells me that there's definitely still a hunger for that kind of cinema. Audiences want those stories that dig a little deeper, that explore those human connections.
Yeah, stories that stay with you. Okay, let's talk about this merger. Serial Maven Studios and Cantina Media are joining forces.
Interesting.
Yeah, what do you think about this move?
Well, they each bring something unique to the table. Serial Maven Studios is all about audio storytelling. And then you've got Cantina Media. They're experts in visual effects and animation. So together, they could really create some amazing immersive content.
A multimedia powerhouse.
Exactly.
Now, while those two are merging, Paper Owl Films, the children's production company, is expanding. They're opening a new studio in Belfast.
Wow, that's a big step.
Yeah, what do you think is driving this expansion?
Well, the demand for children's content is global, right? So they're smart to expand their reach, tap into a new talent pool, and tell even more diverse stories that can connect with kids all over the world.
And it shows you how important these regional production hubs are becoming. Now, industry veteran John Reynolds is launching a new consultancy firm called Flipside Media. He's specifically targeting the children's media market.
That's a great idea.
It is. What do you think is driving the need for this kind of specialized expertise?
Well, children's media, it's a complex landscape, right? You've got streaming platforms, evolving technology, changing audience needs. It's tough to navigate. So someone like John Reynolds, with all his experience, he can really help companies make those smart decisions, stay ahead of the curve.
So he's kind of like a guide through this ever-changing world.
Exactly.
Okay, let's lighten things up a bit. Tiffany Haddish, James Franco and Christopher Maloney have all signed on for a new movie called Toad. It's described as a psychedelic stoner comedy.
Oh, wow. That sounds wild.
Yeah, it does. What do you think about these kinds of comedies? Those escapist, laugh out loud movies?
I think they're important. We all need a good laugh sometimes.
Absolutely. Especially these days.
Right. So, a movie like Toad, it's got a great cast, a fun premise. It could be a real crowd pleaser.
I'm sure people will be lining up for that one. Now, switching gears to the crime drama genre, The Gold, which is produced by Objective Media, is making waves. European broadcasters are snapping it up.
That's great news for them.
Yeah, it is. What do you think is driving this international appetite for crime dramas?
Well, crime dramas, they tap into something universal, right? Those themes of justice, morality, the dark side of humanity, they resonate with audiences everywhere. So a well-crafted crime drama like The Gold, it can find an audience anywhere in the world.
It transcends those cultural barriers.
Exactly.
All right, let's talk about this new partnership. Wheelhouse Entertainment is teaming up with Rashid J. Daniels' Team Sheed Productions to develop some unscripted content.
Oh, that's an interesting pairing.
It is. What do you make of this collaboration?
Well, you've got Wheelhouse Entertainment. They're known for those big, successful reality shows. And then Team Sheet Productions, they bring a focus on diverse voices and perspectives.
So a good mix of experience and fresh ideas.
Exactly. So together, they could create some really innovative, impactful, unscripted content.
Content that reflects the world we live in.
That's the goal.
Okay, Lionsgate is getting into the thriller game with a new film called Titan. It stars Jessica Roth and Logan Marshall Green.
Oh, I've heard of that one.
Yeah, what do you know about it?
It's a survival thriller set in some exotic location.
Sounds intense.
Yeah, it's a classic thriller formula, and Lionsgate knows how to make those work.
Right, they've got a good track record with thrillers.
Absolutely. So Titan, it's got the potential to be a big hit.
Fingers crossed. Now, unfortunately, not all news is good news.
Right.
Hulu has canceled How to Die Alone.
Oh, that's a shame.
It is.
Yeah.
After just one season.
It's always tough when a show gets canceled, especially one that had so much potential. But the TV world is tough. You've got to keep those viewers engaged week after week. And sometimes it just doesn't work out.
It's a numbers game.
Unfortunately, it is.
Well, let's end on a high note. Australians in Film has launched a fantastic program called the Emerging Producers Program. They're partnering with Animal Logic Entertainment and Truant Pictures to give these up-and-coming Australian producers a chance to learn and grow.
That's a great initiative.
It is. It's all about nurturing the next generation of filmmakers.
Absolutely. And it shows you the strength of the Australian film industry. They're committed to developing that local talent. And this program, it's going to give those emerging producers the mentorship, the skills, the connections they need to thrive.
Yeah, set them up for success.
Exactly.
Well, that wraps up our deep dive into the entertainment industry. We've covered a lot of ground today, from those Hollywood lawsuits to the streaming wars, from those rising stars to those exciting new projects.
It's a fascinating world, always changing, always evolving.
And at the heart of it all is the power of storytelling. So as you continue to explore this world, stay curious, stay adaptable, and stay passionate about those stories that connect us all.
Well said.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We'll see you next time for another exploration of the world around us.